You have seen rain before. It starts as a quiet feeling in the air. The sky darkens. The smell of wet earth rises before the first drop even touches the ground. Then it comes, soft at first, then steady. Water falling from the sky, life depending on it. It feels normal, almost comforting. Now imagine standing outside, waiting for that same rain. The clouds gather, the air thickens, but what falls from the sky is not water. It is liquid methane, cold, invisible, deadly. You are not on Earth anymore. You are standing on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. From far away, Titan looks calm, just another distant world wrapped in a soft orange haze, smooth, quiet, almost peaceful. But that haze is not clouds like ours. It is a thick atmosphere, richer than Earth's. A sky made mostly of nitrogen, like ours, but mixed with hydrocarbons, methane and ethane, the building blocks of fuel, not life as we know it. And beneath that sky, something incredible exists. Lakes, seas, rivers. But they are not made of water. They are made of liquid methane and ethane. You already feel it, don't you? Something familiar, but wrong. Because Titan is the only place in the solar system, other than Earth, where liquid flows across the surface in stable bodies. The only other world with a weather system. Clouds, rain, rivers, lakes, a complete cycle. But everything is flipped into something alien. The temperature here is around -179 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze water into rock. On Titan, water is not a liquid. It is the ground beneath your feet. And yet, something flows, something moves, something changes. For decades, on Titan was hidden from us. Its thick orange atmosphere blocked everything. Telescopes saw nothing but haze, no surface, no detail, just a mystery. Until one mission changed everything. A machine built by humans traveled more than 1 billion kilometers through empty space, carried by a spacecraft that left Earth years before. It arrived silently. It descended through Titan's thick atmosphere. And for the first time in history, something from Earth touched that distant ground. It was called Huygens, and what it saw changed how we think about worlds forever. Because the images it sent back were not what anyone expected. They were familiar, too familiar. River channels, pebbles, shorelines. It looked like a place you could walk, a place that felt almost like home. But it wasn't, not even close. And the deeper we looked, and the stranger it became. Because Titan is not just another moon. It is a world that should not exist the way it does. And what we found there raises a quiet, unsettling question. If something so Earth-like can exist so far away, what else is out there, waiting in the dark? The journey to Titan began long before the images arrived. In 1997, a spacecraft left Earth. It was called Cassini, a machine the size of a bus, carrying instruments designed to see what no human eye could. It traveled for nearly 7 years. Think about that. 7 years of silence. 7 years of moving through the cold vacuum, guided only by gravity and careful calculations. It passed Venus, then Earth again, then Jupiter. Each flyby giving it a push, like a slingshot in space. All of that, just to reach Saturn, a distance of about 1.4 billion kilometers. If you drove a car nonstop at highway speed, it would take you over 1,500 years to get there. And when Cassini finally arrived, it did not stop. It entered orbit around Saturn and began to study its moons. One of them stood out immediately. Titan. Because Titan is not like other moons. It is bigger than the planet Mercury. Let that sink in. A moon, larger than a planet. And it is the only moon in the entire solar system with a thick atmosphere. So thick, in fact, that if you stood on Titan, the sky would feel heavy. The air pressure at the surface is about 1.5 times that of Earth. You could walk there without a pressure suit, but you would not survive. Not because of pressure, because of the cold, and because there is no oxygen to breathe. Still, in many ways, Titan is the most Earth-like place we have ever found, and that is what made it irresistible. So Cassini did something bold. It released a probe, Huygens, a small disc-shaped machine designed to fall through Titan's atmosphere. No engines, no control once it entered, just a descent. It began its fall in January 2005. At first, it saw nothing, just thick orange haze. Then, slowly, shapes emerged, faint lines, darker patches, the ground revealing itself, and what it saw shocked scientists because it looked like Earth. Drainage channels carved into the surface, branching like rivers, flowing into flat plains. Huygens was falling over a landscape shaped by liquid, but not water, methane. As it descended further, the images became clearer. You could see what looked like coastlines, what looked like dried riverbeds, what looked like erosion, processes we only knew from Earth, happening somewhere utterly alien. Then, finally, it landed, gently, on a surface covered in small, rounded pebbles, not sharp, not jagged, rounded, smoothed by liquid flow, just like stones in a river on Earth, except these were not rocks like ours. They were made of water ice, frozen solid as stone, and shaped by rivers of methane. Think about that. Rivers that are colder than anything you have ever felt, flowing across a frozen landscape, under a dim orange sky. And this was just the beginning, because Cassini continued to orbit, and it saw more, much more. It mapped Titan's surface using radar, piercing through the haze, and what it revealed was astonishing. Seas. Entire seas of liquid methane and ethane, some of them larger than Earth's Great Lakes. One of them, Krakenmeer, stretches over 1,000 kilometers. That is larger than many countries. Imagine standing at its edge, a vast, dark sea. No waves like ours. The thick atmosphere dampens them. Just a still, silent expanse of liquid hydrocarbons. Under a sky where the sun is just a faint glow, 10 times weaker than on Earth. It would feel like twilight, all the time. And yet, Titan is active. It has weather. Clouds form. Rain falls. Rivers flow. Lakes fill and evaporate. A complete cycle, but driven by methane instead of water. And here is the part that hits hardest. On Earth, water is the foundation of life. Every living thing you know depends on it. On Titan, the same processes happen. Without water. A world that mimics Earth's systems, but uses entirely different chemistry. This forces a question. If the structure of a habitable world can exist with different materials, then maybe life is not as limited as we thought. Maybe the universe has more ways to build living systems than just one. And then comes the detail that makes you feel small. Titan's atmosphere contains complex organic molecules, chemicals that on Earth are part of the chain that leads to life. They fall from the sky like a constant drizzle, coating the surface, layer after layer, over millions of years. It is like a slow experiment, running without interruption, for billions of years. While Earth was forming oceans and life was beginning here, Titan was also changing, in its own way, in its own chemistry, and we have only seen a tiny part of it, because Huygens survived for just over an hour after landing. 1 hour. That is all we have. 1 hour of data from a world that has existed for billions of years. 1 hour out of endless time. And yet, even in that brief moment, it showed us something profound. A place that feels familiar, but is completely alien, a mirror of Earth, built from different rules. And now the question becomes unavoidable. If Titan can look like this, if it can have rivers, lakes, rain, if it can run its own version of a living world's processes, then what is really required for life to begin? And more importantly, what might already be there, hidden beneath that orange sky? You are back on Earth now, standing under a sky you understand, breathing air your body was built for, feeling the warmth of sunlight that traveled 150 million kilometers just to reach your skin. Everything feels normal again, safe. But something has changed, because now you know that Earth is not unique in the way it behaves. Not entirely. Out there, more than 1 billion kilometers away, a distant moon repeats the same patterns. Rain falls, rivers carve the land, seas gather and stretch across the horizon, cycles repeat, worlds evolve. And it does this in silence, without us, without needing us. The universe does not build worlds for life. It builds systems, and sometimes those systems look familiar, close enough to make you pause, close enough to make you wonder. Titan is not alive as far as we know. There is no confirmed life there, no movement beneath the lakes, no signals, no proof, but it has the ingredients, and more importantly, it has time. Billions of years of slow chemistry, billions of years of change. On Earth, life began relatively quickly, once conditions were right. We do not fully understand how. We only know that it happened, and that it transformed everything. So when you look at Titan, you are not just looking at a strange moon. You are looking at a possibility, a different path, a separate experiment, running in parallel with our own. And this is where the scale becomes overwhelming, because Titan is just one moon of one planet, orbiting one star, in a galaxy with hundreds of billions of stars, and beyond that, hundreds of billions of galaxies, each one filled with worlds, worlds we have not seen, worlds we cannot yet reach, worlds that may have their own versions of rain, their own chemistry, their own slow, silent processes unfolding over time. You begin to feel it, that quiet shift in the realization that Earth is not the center, not even close. We are part of something vast, something that does not pause, something that keeps building, changing, evolving, whether we are here to see it or not. And yet, somehow, a small machine from Earth fell through an alien sky, landed on a frozen shore, and sent back images, proof that we can reach beyond our world, proof that we can see, even if only for a moment, because that is all it was, a moment, 1 hour on Titan, captured and sent across the darkness, before the probe went silent, before the cold claimed it, before it became just another object resting on that distant surface, still there, right now, untouched, unmoving, waiting. And maybe that is the most powerful part of all. Not what we found, but how little we have seen. Because Titan is still there, its rivers still flowing, its clouds still forming, its rain still falling in slow, cold drops, a world continuing its story, unobserved, unheard, and you are here, on a small planet, under a thin sky, aware of it, for a brief moment in time. You looked across the void and saw another world breathe. And then you looked back,